So can you kind of guide us through that process of curriculum updates, code updates every year, and how it affects you and what that process is to get them in our manuals and on our exams?
Absolutely. So our manuals are actually handled by the publications department. That doesn't go through the content team. But we do utilize the manuals, right, to reference in our materials and our education. So as soon as they're able to get those done, of course, the sooner the better. We, as all of you know, we have a certain time that all of our code sets are released, which are kind of staggered. They don't all come out at the same time. I think it's the end of July. We usually see our ICD-10 codes. And at the end of August, early September, we may see our CPT codes, depending on when they're released and when that information is disseminated to us. And we actually don't typically get HCPCS codes until Halloween, October 31st. And this year it was into November before we received them. So once these codes are received, we have to then disseminate all that information into all of our curriculum. So we have a program that runs through all of our curriculum to identify anywhere those codes are found, whether it be on a textbook, whether it be in a question, whether it be in a lecture, or on an exam. So we get a list, and that kind of gives us an idea of how much time we're looking at updating our products and how much external teams we're going to need to help us pull this off, because we have a finite time. All of our code codes go live. All of our courses are live October 1st for our core courses, and then our additional courses are always live by January 1st. Our exam changes go live January 1st of every year. And this doesn't mean that we have up until January 1st to get those changes made, because after we make those changes, it still has to go through editorial, and it still has to go through layouts, and then it still has to go to print, and you have to have enough time for all of those different departments to do their job as well. So we have a very, very small finite time to get it all in and get it right.
That's pressure packed. Holy cow.
It is a point where we, we used to refer to it as the fourth quarter, but our fourth quarter really is 6 to 8 months long. It's not really a quarter. And we have, over the years, we've streamlined our policies to make it easier, but we've also increased the products that we offer, right? So it's kind of a trade-off. But it's my passion. So I look forward to it every year in getting the new codes and finding what we need to do with our curriculum and our exams and making sure that all of that happens on time.
Okay. Anything notable about this year? Obviously, Stephanie mentioned E&M changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's different about the E&M changes this year is that one, just a little lesson in history on E&M. We got the 1995 guidelines, and then they came out with the 1997 guidelines, and then decided that didn't quite replace them. So we had 95 and 97. And then in the year 2000, they tried to come up with a set of guidelines to replace those two. And most people can't even find a reference to those 2000 guidelines anymore, because they absolutely had no traction whatsoever. I actually still have the printed version, because I like to hold on to that type of information. And it's just a constant changing of regulation to try to figure out the best way to represent the work that is provided to our patients. And so over the last few years, CMS and the AMA have been working on guidelines, and the AMA finally published guidelines in their book. But unlike the 95 and 97 guidelines that said this applies to all E&M services, the new guidelines that came out actually only apply to office or other outpatient E&M services. So it's only a subset of E&M. So we still teach 95 and 97, but now we also have the AMA CPT guidelines, which are affectionately referred to at this time as the 2021 guidelines, although that's not their official guideline, official name. So we have 1995, 1997, and 2021 guidelines to teach. So imagine being an instructor and having students who have come in from other industries that know absolutely nothing about healthcare, and trying to teach them and explain to them the difference of the 95, 97, and 2021 guidelines. It definitely has been a challenge, and it's been a task. And then on top of that, CPT, once we get the CPT updates, we don't get the guideline updates at the same time. We have to wait till the physical book is released typically to get the guideline updates. And so once we had these chapters written and the information implemented, we had to go back through it all to make sure that it matched the new guidelines that were printed in the book. So it definitely took on a task. The exams, we had committees involved in the exams to update those. Anything we do, not just for the E&M guidelines, but anything we do, we have one person review and do the updates. We have another person review those updates. And then we have a third person that does a final review on anything before it goes into the curriculum. And sometimes when it's something big like the E&M, where we wrote an entirely new chapter, it actually went through several hands to go through a review. We sent that out, I think, to several different committees to get their feedback on that chapter, to make sure, one, that yes, it was correct, two, that we weren't making assumptions that weren't, that may not be true, and three, to make sure that when we did our coding of the cases in there, that it actually was correct, right? And back to exams, on many of the specialty exams are case driven, and they actually have to read notes and code them. And we have to make sure that our coding is correct on that. It's not optional, right? We understand that the livelihood of those taking our exams depend on our exams being correct. So we had several layers of review on those exams to verify that they're correct. And we'll also continue to monitor as we see results come in.